Hello and welcome to an interesting episode which will discuss the media's impact on children. I am Monica Verma. The expert today is Ruchi Jaggi, who teaches at the Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication at Pune. She has over a decade of teaching experience behind her and loves research. Today, we are going to examine the role of media in the lives of children, how they engage, interact, perceive, and get influenced by the media. Television has particularly been criticized for its potential impact on children. One area of concern is how early media exposure influences cognitive development and academic achievement in children. In the last 50 years, influence of the media has grown exponentially with the advance of technology. First, there was the telegraph, followed by the newspaper, the radio, magazines, television, and now the internet. We live in a society that depends on information and communication to keep moving in the right direction and do our daily activities like work, entertainment, health care, education, personal relationships, traveling, and anything else that we have to do. Let us first look at the concept of media impact. A historic insight into the development of various mass media in India will throw light on the fact of how media in each era has been a strong social and cultural force in that period. The advent of independence in August 1947 removed the shackles of the colonial era and a new horizon breathed in all aspects of the country's life. The mass media also rose to the occasion. There was a tremendous progress in the fields of print and electronic media. The rate of literacy grew, more cinemas came into being, and there was far greater interaction between the public through the media. In 1976, 29 years after independence, India had 13,320 newspapers in 65 languages. The largest number of newspapers was in Hindi, a language spoken by 40% of the country's population. Weekly and other journals in all languages, including regional languages, numbered 12,445. This number has increased. Today, the number of print publications in India is close to 40,000 according to the 2008 and 9 figures given out by the Registrar of Newspapers for India. Started with only 6 broadcasting stations in 1947, All India Radio extended its services. 155 radio stations, including relay stations, were working in 1977. Today, the number is close to 400. With the privatization of airwaves, private FM radio has made strong inroads and impact in India. Television arrived in India in 1959 on a rather restricted scale. UNESCO, along with USA, West Germany at that time, Yugoslavia and Japan helped in establishing, extending and programming of the television network in India. Today, India is the world's second largest cable connected country in the world, and the 24/7 nature of television programming across plethora of genres and formats is a spellbinding story. As a result of these vast and varied differences, the mass communication channels have a bigger and more complex role to perform in a society like India. In fact, we currently live in a society that is increasingly saturated by the mass media. For most of us, print, film, music and television are central parts of our daily lives. The growth of new technologies, including the web, mobile phones, and various digital platforms, has altered our understanding of the mass media. These developments are not only constantly changing the media landscape structurally and functionally, but also their reach and influence is much wider and deeper in the socio-cultural context. The mass media wield a powerful influence on the world around. This adage cannot be truer than in this age of 24/7 media. From the daily newspaper dropped at your door in the morning, other forms of printed text, watching television, time spent on the web, either through a focused work or general internet surfing, or even social networking, there is a constant scenario of engaging with the media as well as interacting with and via media. The mass media facilitates dissemination of information and communication to a vast number of people. According to Wilbur Schramm, a mass medium is essentially a working group organized around some device for circulating the same message at about the same time to large numbers of people. How do growing children from early adolescence form their impressions, attitudes, action, potentials, and more generally their imagination of world beyond the one they can directly experience in their immediate surroundings and family life? Until less than 200 years ago, the vast majority of the world's children and adults depended on the immediate experiences of their senses in a setting limited to the people of tribe and family, the livestock, wild animals, and physical characteristics of a narrow milieu. How could they learn, for example, that there were other tribes or nations, or people of different colors or customs? They heard stories from the family leaders or community members. One might argue that with the emergence of the written language, adults and children might then have had access to learning about the world through reading. The impact of reading on the modern civilization increased, especially after the advent of printing technology. This also started the era of mediated learning in children's lives. The great acceleration of information and electronic media in the last 2 decades has become the most popular sources of input for children and adolescents. Age group is the most basic demographic parameter on which different audience groups can be divided. Media cater to various age groups by customizing content and treatment accordingly. A popular example could be various television channels. Today we have niche television channels that cater to various age groups. To cater to the elderly, numerous religious television channels are beamed all through the day and night. Similarly, there are also 24/7 television channels that cater only to children. The general entertainment channels apparently appeal to the largest segment of the population. However, there is a visible segmentation in terms of age-wise grouping of content across different audience groups. Even for a genre like reality shows, there are separate shows for children, youth, and senior citizens. There is a changing place of media in children's lives. The popular media have always regarded children as a special audience. Every single day, millions of children are constantly bombarded by media. Television, internet, movies, video games, music and videos are some of the many forms of media that continues to feed particular message and ideas into our children. The most commonly repeated statistic is that by the time a child finishes school today, he or she will have spent more time in front of the television set, 17,000 hours than in a formal classroom 11,000 hours, quote by Schneider in 1989. In a 1974 Scott Ward's extensive study of children's television viewing habits, children indicated that their favorite activity was playing with friends or going to the movies. After those, watching TV became the favorite. Since friends and movies are not always available, television becomes the key activity. There are detailed studies that consistently demonstrate that animated programs are the preferred format for children starting at 18 to 24 months of age. According to developmental literature, children under 10 often have consistent difficulty distinguishing between reality and fantasy. Studies have found that 8 and 9-year-olds find the characters, situations and storylines in animated programming to be realistic. The significant role of television in the socialization process of children has been consistently demonstrated, analyzed and is now widely accepted. Television serves the purpose of entertainment and also education to some extent. The informative needs that television satisfies for children can be described as reality orientation. Television can open a new world for kids and expose them to global cultures, locations that they may never encounter in their own community. Educational television programs are successful in broadening young children's knowledge and increasing their imaginations. Educational television programs can aid in the acquisition of general knowledge plus improve overall cognitive knowledge among young children. Television gives an opportunity to parents and children to spend time together. News, current events and historical programs can increase children's general awareness levels and also expose them to the world of music and art. Television can affect learning and school performance if it cuts into the time kids need for activities crucial to healthy mental and physical development. TV viewing is a sedentary activity and has been proven to be a significant factor in childhood obesity. Television appears to affect other activities because television leaves little time for an activity requiring prolonged concentration. Thus, the child's life becomes busier around the television. Given the fact that there is excessive violence and sex on television and children are continually exposed to such material, there is huge concern of the impact of such violent and sexual content on our children. Many children watch or are continually exposed to television violence and take it to be a reflection of the real world. This may lead to the belief that violence and crime are frequent occurrence in the society and to the approval of violent behavior. Some television programs contain excessive amount of violence and children can remember and learn from such programs. Children are a special audience with limited information processing capabilities that constrain their early understanding of the nature and purpose of television advertising. As a result, children get easily affected and persuaded by advertising than adults. Advertising may have a negative, intended or unintended influence on children. Children can be exploited more easily if they do not understand the differences between television programming and commercials and if they do not know the selling intent of commercials. If children understand the intention of commercials and are able to distinguish them from programs, however, the potential effect of advertising might be reduced. Young children are increasingly the target of advertising and marketing because of the influence they have on their parents' spending, the nag factor, and because of the money they will spend when they grow up. While child-targeted marketing used to concentrate on sweets and toys, it now includes clothes, shoes, range of fast foods, sports equipment, computer products and toiletries, as well as adult products such as cars. Advertising to children generates jobs, injects money into the economy, and instills in children at a young age the importance of the freedom of choice. It also develops a child's ability to understand the value of money and teaches them the individuals can achieve anything if they are willing to pay the price. Advertising makes the kids aware of the new products available in the market. It increases their knowledge about the latest innovations in the field of technology as well as otherwise. Convincing ads which center around healthy food products can help improve the diet of a child if they are attractive enough. The flip side is that with television being the most popular way to advertise to young ones, an average child may view as many as 40,000 television commercials every year. Food, clothing, toys are just a few of the many types of advertisements that daily influence children. Many advertisements directed towards children deal with food. Unfortunately, many of these food advertisements that children are being exposed to are products that are of low nutritional value. The danger with junk food is that it will invariably lead to obesity in children. Increasingly, advertisers are targeting younger and younger children in an effort to establish brand name preference at as early an age as possible. Research has shown that young children younger than 8 years are cognitively and psychologically defenseless against advertising. They do not understand the notion of intent to sell and frequently accept advertising claims at face value. An increasing number of websites try to entice children and teenagers to make direct sales. Advertisers have traditionally used techniques to which children and adolescents are more susceptible, such as product placements in movies and TV shows. Sex is used in commercials to sell everything from beer to shampoo to cars. Such advertisements end up giving inappropriate messages to children and teens about sex and sexuality. Kids today are bombarded with sexual messages and images in all media: television, magazines, advertisements, music, movies, and the internet. Parents are often concerned about whether these messages are healthy. While television can be a powerful tool for educating young people about the responsibilities and risks of sexual behavior, such issues are seldom mentioned or dealt with in a meaningful way in programs containing sexual content. Many advertisements include dangerous stunts which can be performed only by experts. Even though the commercials broadcast the statutory warnings with the ad, the kids often try to imitate the stunts at home with fatal results. Junk foods such as pizzas, burgers, and soft drinks are heavily promoted during children's TV viewing time. This develops a craving for fatty, sugary, and fast foods in kids, thereby affecting their health adversely. The media that children consume, including TV shows, news stories, movies, music, and video games, deliver subtle and not so subtle messages that inform their attitudes about race, class, and gender. Media exposure glorifies and establishes stereotypical representations that may prejudice children at a very young age. TV shows, advertising, video games, online content, and other media all play a role in informing children's opinions and shaping their health and well-being. For example, children under the age of 8 do not recognize the persuasive intent of ads and tend to accept them as accurate and unbiased. Research has demonstrated that a 30-second commercial can influence brand preferences in children as young as 2 years old. Everything that children see or hear in the media early on in their lives affects them in some way. Recent research has shown that connections between children playing violent video games can cause later aggressive behavioral problems. Unfortunately, violence is one of the most popular forms of entertainment. Access and exposure to online pornography is another public concern. Statistics are available to indicate frequency of exposure to online pornography. It is very important that the media is used wisely. Using the media wisely means using it as a source of information, entertainment, enrichment, growth, empowerment, and communication. Equally important to understanding media is to use information technology rather than allowing information technology to use you. Hence, media literacy is defined as the ability to sift through and analyze the messages that inform, entertain, and sell to us every day. Two things are therefore extremely important for children: becoming aware of the importance of making choices and managing the amount of time spent with television, videos, electronic games, and various print media forms. Learning specific skills of critical viewing and surfing. Learning to analyze and question what is in the frame on the screen and what may have been left out, and this can be affected through parent or teacher mediation. Media education encourages a probing approach to the world of media. It encourages you to ask questions like, who is this message intended for? Who wants to reach this audience and why? From whose perspective is this story told? Whose voices are heard and whose are absent? What strategies does this message use to get my attention and make me feel included? Let us look at a few techniques by which children can be made more aware about the media content they are exposed to. Since very young children tend to focus on one thing at a time, they do not always make links between things the way adults do. So they can be shown the difference between a real product and its version shown on television. This may help them probably understand the difference. Youngsters can be introduced to the concept of advertising with adults playing with them a game like, what are they trying to sell? When a commercial comes on, see who can be first to guess what the ad is for. The game is not only fun, it will help young children learn to distinguish between different kinds of programming. By asking children questions about what they see and genuinely listening to their answers, we encourage the habit of thinking and talking about media. This helps them to develop an analytical mindset. Children need adult guidance and supervision in forming balanced perspectives. Comment on negative images of any societal group. Tell the children if they feel the image is unfair. Point out that everyone can be smart, stupid, silly, serious, helpful, or in need of help at different times. Everyone is capable of good deeds and everyone makes mistakes. Provide children with positive multi-ethnic experiences. First-hand experience is more powerful than any media stereotype. Reduce exposure to media violence. Look for TV shows, videos, and books that provide positive role models to counteract the actions and attitudes of today's violent superheroes. In a nutshell, children need help to interpret what they see. Parents and teachers can help them learn that intelligence, creativity, and leadership skills are more important than the media's often superficial standards. The effects of media on young children are not simply watered down versions of the effects on older children and adults. How young children think adds dimensions to the media picture that are not an issue at other age levels. Young children have immature concepts of identity and reality and are easily fooled by actors, puppets, and animation. They may believe that all or nothing in the media is real. Young children may not be able to follow a storyline or find the message in a program. Instead, they may concentrate on isolated and unrelated events, creating their own unique impressions. Since mass media communication is one way, there is no opportunity for them to check meanings and confirm assumptions. Hence, it is imperative to orient media content in such a way that is a positive influence on children's physical and mental development. Wise interventions from elders can be very useful in mitigating the negative effects of media on children. To conclude, let us quickly summarize what we have discussed today. Age group is the most basic demographic parameter on which different audience groups can be divided. Television serves the purpose of entertainment and also education to some extent. However, when children spend a lot of time watching television, other activities including academic performance gets hampered. Sexual and violent content on television can impact kids in a negative way. Advertising may also have a negative, intended or unintended influence on children. Some advertising makes kids aware of the new products available in the market. It increases their knowledge about the latest innovations. However, research has shown that young children are cognitively and psychologically defenseless against advertising. There is a plethora of advertising of food, clothes, toys, and other similar things that entice children to make sales. Many advertisements include dangerous stunts which kids often try to imitate at home with fatal results. Sex is used as a subtext in many advertising messages that can have a very unhealthy influence on children. Media exposure glorifies and establishes stereotypical representations that may prejudice children at a very young age. It is therefore imperative to educate children so that they consume media content consciously. Children should be exposed to TV shows, videos, and books that provide positive role models to counteract the actions and attitudes of otherwise negative media content. As we have seen today, media can have both positive and negative effects on children. It is important that children are adequately educated about the kind of images that the media creates around them. That's all for today. Take care and all the best. Goodbye.